The night my mother demanded I hand over the keys to the beach house I bought, I thought she was joking. I had just finished a 12-hour shift at the hospital in San Diego, and she was already waiting on my porch with that fake sweet smile. She explained how Derek, my brother, deserves a fresh start after his nightclub failure, how he needs space to heal. Then she told me I should move back to my city apartment so he could have the beach house. When I reminded her my name is on the deed, she didn't even blink. "You're barely here anyway, Jessica. You have your medical career. Derek has lost everything. Don't be selfish." I noticed then she had already packed some of my things into boxes by the door. If you've ever bought something for your family only to have them try to take it, stay with me, because what happened next changed everything. Growing up in Orange County, I learned early that in our family, there were two roles. Derek was the star. I was the stagehand. My mom, Lisa, treated him like he was destined for greatness from the moment he could throw a football. My dad, Robert, just nodded along with whatever kept the peace. Every weekend was about Derek, his games, his practices, his recruiting visits to colleges. I would sit in the stands doing homework while my mom screamed herself hoarse cheering for him. When he got a car at 18, my parents threw a party. When I got accepted into a pre-med program with a scholarship, my mom said, "That's wonderful, honey," then immediately asked if I could babysit Derek's girlfriend's dog that weekend because he wanted to take her somewhere special. The only people who saw me were my grandparents. They lived near the beach and would take me there after school. My grandfather taught me about saving money and investing. He would sit me down with the newspaper and explain compound interest and stocks. My grandmother taught me chess and said, "You have to think ahead, especially when everyone underestimates you." At school, I joined science club and volunteered at the hospital. I started working as a pharmacy technician at 16, saving every dollar. While my mom posted constantly about Derek's football highlights and his potential pro career, I was quietly building something real. By the time I was in college, the pattern was impossible to ignore. Derek had gone to USC on a partial football scholarship, and my mom acted like he'd been drafted by the NFL. Every phone call from him was an event. She would put him on speaker and pace around the kitchen as he talked about parties and connections he was making with important people. She would hang on every word, laughing at his jokes, gasping at his stories. When the call ended, she would sigh and say, "Derek is really making something of himself." Meanwhile, I was working night shifts at the hospital, studying for medical boards, and paying my own tuition, because my scholarship only covered part of it. Nobody made highlight reels for that. When I tried to share that I had passed a major certification exam, my mom would nod and say, "That's great, honey," then immediately go back to talking about Derek's latest adventure. After Derek graduated, reality hit fast. No pro team wanted him. He bounced between personal training gigs and sales jobs, each one lasting a few months before he got bored or fired. Then he announced one night at dinner that he was opening a nightclub with his buddies in downtown LA. My mom was ecstatic. "This is his moment," she told my dad, eyes shining. "This is what he was meant to do. We have to invest in him." Help meant draining their retirement account and taking out a second mortgage on their rental house. $73,000 total. I watched from the kitchen doorway, silent, doing math in my head, calculating how many hours I would have to work to see that kind of money. My dad looked worried, but he signed the papers anyway. Because disagreeing with my mom? That was not something he knew how to do. I remember Derek showing us photos of the space on his phone. Exposed brick, a long bar, a DJ booth. He talked about bottle service and VIP sections and celebrity clients, like they were already waiting in line. My mom posted about it constantly. So proud of my son, the entrepreneur, watching him build his dream. Our family is about to change forever. I kept my mouth shut and went back to my hospital shifts. The club failed in 8 months. Derek spent more time drinking than managing. His partners walked away. The debt remained. My mom blamed the economy, the location, bad luck, everyone except Derek. Then the calls started. Jessica, we're a little behind on the mortgage. Can you help? Just this once? Jessica, the car payment is due and we're short. Just a few hundred. Jessica, the power company made a mistake. It became a pattern. I would wire money. They would post on social media about family being everything. And nobody mentioned that I was the one keeping them afloat. I finished medical school and got hired at a hospital in San Diego. The pay was good, better than my parents ever made. I started looking at real estate because my grandfather had always said property was the best investment. I found a small beach bungalow an hour north of the city, a fixer-upper with good bones. I used my savings for the down payment, got a mortgage in my name only, and spent 6 months renovating it on weekends. When it was finished, I did something I thought was generous. I told my parents they could live there rent-free while I stayed in my city apartment during the work week and came to the beach on my days off. I thought I was giving them a gift. My mom's Facebook posts told a different story. She posted photos of the living room, the ocean view, the renovated kitchen, with captions about our dream home and years of hard work finally paying off. People commented asking how they managed to afford such a beautiful place. My mom's responses were always vague. We saved for years, or we made sacrifices, or we believed in investing in what matters. Never once did she mention that I bought it, that I paid for every repair, that my name was on every document. The first time I saw her post, "The beach house was our retirement dream," something twisted in my chest. I told myself she was just proud. The second time she called it, "the home we built," I started feeling uneasy. The third time someone commented asking if I helped, and my mom replied, "Oh, Jessica helps when she can, but she's always so busy with work." I realized what was happening. I was being erased from my own generosity, but I said nothing. I told myself it was fine. They were happy. That was what mattered. Then came the night Derek's club officially closed, and he moved back home to our parents' old rental. The bank had called in the loan. His partners had sued him for mismanagement. He was buried in debt and back to sleeping in his childhood bedroom at 30 years old. My mom called me crying about how devastated he was, how he had lost everything, how unfair the world had been to him, how he needed a win, just one win, to get his confidence back. She never mentioned the $73,000. She never mentioned that he had spent more time partying in his own club than managing it. She just painted him as a victim of bad luck. I should have seen it coming, but I was too tired from back-to-back shifts at the hospital to connect the dots. 2 weeks later, she was standing on my porch with that smile, the one she used when she wanted something big. She had driven up unannounced on my day off. I opened the door in my pajamas and she breezed past me into the living room, like she owned the place. "We need to discuss something important," she said, sitting on my couch, folding her hands in her lap like a therapist about to deliver bad news. She started with the story again. Derek is really struggling. He's depressed. He needs a space where he can heal and regroup. The rental is so depressing and small, and your father and I are on top of him all the time. He needs room to breathe. Then she looked around the beach house, at the view, at the renovated kitchen I had spent 6 months working on with my own hands during my days off. This place would be perfect for him, she said, like it was the most obvious solution in the world. You have your apartment in the city anyway. You're barely here. It would mean everything to him. When I said no, when I reminded her it was my house, legally mine, paid for by me, her expression shifted. At first she looked confused, like I had said something in a foreign language. Then she tried sweet. Jessica, honey, I know you worked hard for this, but think about what it would mean for Derek. Think about family. When I still refused, the sweetness vanished. You're being selfish, she snapped. He has nowhere to go. You have options. You make good money. This would be nothing to you, but everything to him. When I pointed out that I had already given them 3 years of rent-free living, she waved it away. That was different, she said. That was us. This is about helping your brother when he needs it most. I felt something crack inside me. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? She said, voice rising. I almost laughed. Everything you've done for me? I said. I've paid your mortgage for 3 years when you got behind. You live in a house I bought with my money. I renovated it myself. My name is on the deed. You've posted about it like you earned it while erasing me from every caption. And now you want to give it to Derek? She waved her hand dismissively. We can talk about the details later, she said, already moving past my objections. The point is, he needs this, and you're in a position to help. That was when I made the decision. I didn't argue further. I told her I needed time to think about it, that it was a big ask, that I would consider it. She left satisfied, probably already texting Derek the good news, probably already planning how to redecorate my house for him. After she drove away, I sat on the porch for a long time, watching the waves. Then I pulled out my phone and started making calls. First, to a real estate lawyer who explained exactly what my rights were as the sole owner on the deed. Then to a property management company about getting the house listed. Then to my bank about the timeline. Within a week, I had everything lined up. I drove back to the beach house on a Saturday morning when I knew they would be there. My mom was there arranging furniture, already moving things around, already making plans. Derek was on the couch on his phone. They both looked surprised to see me, but my mom smiled wide. I'm so glad you came around, she said, walking toward me with open arms. Derek is going to love it here. We were just talking about which room would be his bedroom. He wants the one with the ocean view, obviously. I didn't come around, I said, staying near the door. I came to tell you that I'm selling the house. The smile froze on her face. What? You can't sell it, she said, voice going high and tight. We live here. This is our home. You live here because I let you, I said, keeping my voice calm and even. My name is on the deed. I own it. I gave you a home rent-free for 3 years, and you tried to take it from me to give to Derek, who has contributed nothing. So now, I'm taking it back. She started yelling then, really yelling, about family and loyalty and betrayal and how could I do this to them? Derek stood up from the couch, looking confused and angry. "What is she talking about?" he said to our mom, like I wasn't even there. "You said this was going to be my place. Mom, what's going on?" I let her finish her rant. Then I pulled an envelope from my bag. "Eviction notice," I said, holding it out. "You have 60 days to vacate. My lawyer drew it up. It's legal and binding." My dad appeared then from the back bedroom, probably woken by the shouting. "Jessica," he said quietly, rubbing his face. "We can talk about this. We can work something out." "There's nothing to talk about," I said. "You have 2 months to find a place you can afford on your actual income. I'll help with the first month of rent and security deposit somewhere. But this house is mine, and I'm done pretending otherwise." My mom tried a different tactic then. She softened her voice, reached for my hand. "Honey, I know you're upset," she said. "I should have asked differently. But you have to understand. Derek is in crisis. He needs help." "So he can have the help I've been offering," I said, pulling my hand back. 60 days and financial assistance finding a rental. That's more than fair considering you tried to steal my house." "We weren't trying to steal it," she said, tears forming now. "We're family. Family shares." "You share when people respect you," I said. "You've posted for 3 years about this house like you earned it. You told people I barely helped. You erased me from something I built and paid for. And when I said no to handing it over, you called me selfish. That's not family. That's using someone." My mom tried to grab my arm then, fingers digging in. "You're going to regret this," she hissed, the tears gone, replaced by something cold. "We'll tell everyone what you did. Everyone will know how you abandoned your family." "Go ahead," I said, shaking off her hand. "Tell them I bought you a house, let you live rent-free, and when you tried to give it to Derek, I sold it. Tell them I paid your bills for years while you mocked me for being too busy with work. See how that sounds to people." Derek spoke up then. "This is messed up, Jess," he said. "You really are that selfish? Mom and Dad are old. They need stability. You make doctor money. You could buy 10 houses." "You could," I said, looking at him. "If you hadn't blown $73,000 of their retirement money on a nightclub you drank your way through. If you hadn't spent your entire life taking while I worked. You want to talk about selfish? Look in the mirror." I walked out and drove back to the city. For 2 days, my phone exploded with calls and texts. My mom, my dad, Derek, relatives I hadn't heard from in years, all trying to guilt me or threaten me or convince me I was overreacting. I blocked most of them. I kept my lawyer's number on speed dial. The house sold fast. It was a beach property in good condition. I closed within 45 days. My parents moved into a small apartment in a part of town they used to make fun of. My mom complained constantly on social media. Vague posts about betrayal and how some people forget where they came from. Derek posted once, a long rant about family loyalty and how money changes people. I didn't respond. A few relatives reached out privately to say they were proud of me for standing up for myself. Most just watched the drama unfold from a distance. After the sale closed, I took the profit and put it into investments, exactly like my grandfather taught me. I bought a small condo near the hospital in my name only. I started therapy because cutting off your family, even when they deserve it, leaves scars. Some nights I still cried, not from regret, but from grief. I was mourning the family I should have had. The parents who should have protected me instead of using me. My mom sent emails for months. "We're family," she would write. "Everyone makes mistakes. Can we not move past this?" But her apologies always focused on my reaction, never on what she did. She never admitted she tried to take my house. She never acknowledged erasing me from her posts. She just wanted me to forgive and forget so things could go back to normal, which meant go back to me giving while they took. I kept one email from my dad. It was short. "I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you. You deserved better than what we gave you. I hope you build the life you want." I read it sometimes when doubt creeps in, when I wonder if I went too far. Then I remember standing on that porch, hearing my mom tell me to give up my house, and I know I made the right choice. Here's what I learned. You do not owe your family your money, your property, or your peace just because you share DNA. Being kind does not mean being a doormat. Setting boundaries is not selfish, it's survival. My grandparents were right. You cannot save people who refuse to save themselves, but you can save yourself. And sometimes, walking away is the only way to protect what you've built. If you've ever had to choose between your family's comfort and your own sanity, you already know that choosing yourself is not betrayal. It's self-respect. And that's something no one can take from you, unless you let them.